Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Usama Ghaffar and my ID is 34 and my department is BS Biotechnology. Today I am here to present a topic of my presentation is XPS. What is the introduction of XPS? XPS is basically a technique of X-ray which includes two X-ray and photoelectron spectroscopy. It is also known as spectroscopy of chemical texture. Basically, it is defined as it is a surface sensitive quantitative spectroscopic technique based on photoelectric effect. This technique this technique is includes surface sensitive quantity which tell about any kind of surface and also involves photoelectric effect that can identify element that exist within a material or are covering its surface as well as their chemical state and the overall electronic structure and density of electronic states in the material. It can identify all the elements which are present in a ejected electrons and beam of atom, and it tell about the chemical state and electronic structure. It is a powerful measurement technique based not shows what elements are present but also what other elements are bonded to. As we know, every element is bonded to another element. This technique shows which element is bonded to which and how many are bonded to each other. The technique can be used in line profiling of element composition across the surface or in depth profiling when paired with iron beam. This technique tells that the elemental composition of the surface and its what are the depth profiling of XPS in iron beam. It is often applied to study chemical process in the material is the received state. This technique is also applied on chemical process of the materials and tells about what are the uses of XPS. As we know, it's used in cleavage, scraping, exposure or heat, reactive gases, solutions, ultraviolet light or during light implantation. Here's a diagram of XPS that I can explain. As we can see, there is a yellow colored sample are usually solid because XPS require ultra high vacuum. There is a pressure of ultra high vacuum stands per 8 torr and a focus beam of X-rays are ejected on a sample and electron take off to the there is a machine of white color electron energy analyzer. This is also called electron collector. This machine tells this machine is like tells with the electron detector what is the silicon water signals XPS and what are the coming energies. What are the principles of XPS? The working principle of XPS is ejection of electron from the surface of sample in UHV condition when it is exposed to X-ray surface. As we know, there is a back diagram when X-ray ejected on a working principle. First line is tell that when X-ray ejected on a sample and the electron take off to the electron collection lens and a collector. This is the first line of working principle. Elements present in sample can be identified on the basis of kinetic energy and binding energy of their photoelectric factor. There tells that elements present in sample that are identified what are the kinetic and binding energies are present in photoelectric effect. Their intensities provide information about concentration in elements. The electron emitted from atoms near the sample surface can escape sample surface. This depth is about 20 atomic layers. The electrons that are emitted in quantitative technique of surface sensitive is tells that at the XPS is almost 20 depth atomic layers total in X-ray. What is photoelectric effect? When electric when X-ray when X-ray ejects out an electron, the ejection electron, the photoelectron, and this effect is called photoelectric effect. It means when X-ray ejected on a sample and the electrons aroused to the electron lens is called photoelectric effect. The atom will release energy by emission of other electron. Here we can see the diagram. The first one, a curly arrow come to the one atom and lost his to the backside. And second one is relaxation, whereas the last one element is come to the take first place, as we see 1s 2s 2p 1s and connected with 1s. In the last Auger electron emission, there is a second line 2s orbital electrons are out and also third electrons. Continue, the ejected photoelectron has kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is equal to hv into binding energy of spectrometer lens. Kinetic energy measured by xps, hv emitted by x-rays, and by calibration binding energy. Continue. No emission of photoelectron if hv is not equal to 0. No emission of photoelectron from levels of binding energy plus 0 hv. There is, as we can see in the diagram, there are two lines. Between the difference of these two lines, a core hole. If there is no electrons, there is no emission of photoelectron. If increase on photoelectron, decrease in binding energy. Each element has different value for core level electron. There we can see different kinetic energies, binding energies, valence bond, photoelectron, and core levels of the different electrons. So coming toward the next, what is the instrumentation of XPS? Instrumentation, as we can see in the diagram, there is a purple color hemisphere and an energy analyzer, and convert which is protected with a magnetic shield, and it is connect to the detector to analyzer control and computer system. There is a x-ray which are ejected on a sample, and lenses of area adjustment and area definition are also present. So there are four kind of instrumentation used in XPS. UHV text, ultra high volume, X-ray source, electron analyzer, ion gun. Ultra high vacuum system. It allows photoelectron path length. It is basically present between sample detector and electron X-ray source. This is present there. A detector and X-ray source between, there is a, we can see a bluish color. This is a ultra high vacuum system. It keeps surface clean, preventing the contamination products to X-ray signal its pressure as back we tell that 10 is per 8 torr. It includes vacuum pump, iron, roughing, and turbo pump. There is a pressure torr different low vacuum, medium, high vacuum, ultra high vacuum. Low vacuum is 10 is per 2, medium 10 is per -1, high 10 is per -8, and ultra 10 is per -11 and -8. What is X-ray source? Dual anode X-ray source. It used two kind of anode in X-ray used. Magnesium potassium have 1253.6 electron volt, and aluminium potassium have 1486.6 electron volt. Monochromatic use quartz crystal. Here is a diagram. We can see bluish color a quartz crystal which is attached to the sample and aluminium anode. X-ray lights are coming from quartz crystal, and electron source are also connected to the electron beam. What is electron analyzer? Lens system to collect photoelectron, analyze to filter electron energies. There is a lens system which release photoelectrons. Detectors used to count these electrons and analyze their filter energies. What is iron gun? Iron gun is a sample cleaning, depth profiling. Organ is the most useful iron gun. We can see in the diagram iron gun, a yellow color, which is basically used for a iron gun, and electron analyzer. Sample to electron analyzer, there are electron are releases and going to the electron analyzer with x-ray source. What is the working of XPS? In a typical XPS experiment, sufficient energy is input to break the photoelectron away from the nuclear attraction of force of an element. In this, we can tell that there too much energy is required to break electron from sample. Two key features are derived from XPS detect. Once these photo-ejected electrons are in the vacuum, they are collected by electron analyzer that measure their kinetic energy. Those electrons which are released from the sample, they go to the detector and where there is kinetic energy is measured. The two features derived. The one photo-ejected electrons from core level have straight shift depending on their outer configuration of material examined. The second is that specific energy of element transition occur at specific binding in a favorable cases of element. There is a diagram we can see a sample and X-ray source. Energy spectrum there is a graph we can see here like this and electron analyzer there are electron small pores present which are coming to the sample by excited electrons through the electron analyzer. Going toward peak characteristics, there are two peak characteristics. Photoelectron peak reflect discrete binding energies of the photoelectron present in solid. MOO3 film excited by aluminium and potassium. There is a energy. What is this energy? 1486.6 electron volt. Spin orbit coupling. In quantum mechanics, a nomenclature of core level is different. Principal, orbital, total, and spin quantum number. There is a diagram we can see this one which is basically used in before we as we know that there is a this one is this graph is present opening with full opening as here I can show you this is the opening of different binding energies and intensity of the different graphs as you can see and it tells their value how to take value as pdf 0 1 2 3 4 by this formula. Chemical shift. When an atom makes a bond with another atom, the valence electron density changes, resulting in an adjustment of the electrostatic potential affecting the core electrons. When an atom bonds with another atom, their density change, and the result is potential affecting on core electrons. Change in binding energies of the core electron cause shift in the corresponding photoelectron peaks. As we know, when atom lose valence charge, binding energy increase, and when it gain, binding energy decrease. There is a quantitative analysis and different value we can see how we measure their XPS and quantitative analysis and calculate it. Advantages and disadvantages. XPS is analysis effective across a range of organic and inorganic materials. It is both used in organic and inorganic. It is a technique for analyzing stainless steel passivation, identifying surface contaminants, and testing method. Disadvantages. It is a very expensive technique. High vacuum is required for this technique. Large area is required. Hydrogen and helium cannot be identified. Data collection is low 5 to 10 minutes, which is very slow. So that's all from my side. In this technique, we basically tell that this is a X-ray technique which is used basically in ejected electrons, electron beams, and sample. That's all in this X-ray techniques. So that's all from my side.